Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Stay on stage. OnChain Revolution. Done this. Phone.
Welcome back to OnChain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What is up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the OnChain Hour, and this one is going to be explosive because the last couple days, we have seen the most incredible dump of all time. I mean, you know, obviously a lot of people got hurt, and I don't want to, like, you know, say anything about that, right? You're playing in a market that's very risky. You know, everyone is maintaining risk at this point. We get it, right? But the incredible of the push down was just so epic. It's something that, you know, we'll remember forever. And saying that, you know, just like some stuff that has happened in American history that we'll remember forever, it's not great. But at the same time, it's something we have to learn from. It's something we have to move forward and become stronger. And, you know, it will do that, especially with the pull up we saw on Sunday. We saw the buy the dippers come in. So everyone was saying, you know, the top is in, it's over. I mean, what happened yesterday was so epic of a rebound. I mean, Fartcoin was at 20 cents and pulled up to like almost 50. I mean, if you bought the bottom Friday night, Saturday morning, you did really well already. Right. So there's a lot of opportunities in the market. There's a lot of positions that you can get into right now that would really set you up for the next couple months. We here still believe that there's going to be a bullish Q4, October, November, December. And who knows, maybe even a bullish Q1, January, February, March. I'm still in the camp of selling May and go away. I think April and May are going to be the back end of the cycle. But who really knows at this point? I mean, we could have, you know, a couple months of sideways here. That's what we're hearing from a lot of bigger players. Hey, this is going to take months to kind of fix itself, right? So if that's the case, then who knows? Maybe we kind of go sideways until January and then start pulling up again. I don't know, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I know. All I can tell you is I've learned a lot of lessons over the years. Taking leverage isn't something that I like to do, right? Going in deep in the trenches isn't something that I like to do. I like to buy good projects and hold them long term. I was barely affected by this. You know, holding Agent Hustle, holding Merlin, holding a lot of these coins really showed that that's how you win in crypto. You get a bag and you hodl. You add to that bag on dips like we've seen over the last couple of days, and you keep building your portfolio with good projects. That is how you win. But, you know, playing a little bit, having a little bit of gambling, I think that's okay, because we do see a lot of people right now got hit by this. A lot of people with 2x leverage got liquidated. A lot of people with, you know, 5x leverage got liquidated. These people now have huge followings and can pump tokens. And I think a lot of those people are coming back to the trenches. Can we make money there? I don't know. Maybe it's time for me to start dipping my toe there, you know, or should I just stay on my plan of just buying and hodling? I don't know. Right. We're going to talk about a lot of amazing stuff today. Really excited for today's show. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Bringing my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up, man? So wild weekend.
Yeah, wild week. Last week to end the week, really. You know, all that stuff happened whenever the U.S. markets were closed, Asia was asleep. So it's like who really benefited from that, right? But like you said, really good bounce back on Sunday. And if you look at history, I won't get too deep into it, but if you look at the history, there's always some sort of reset, flushing out the leverage before the run up in Q4. And I think that's what we experienced, obviously on a larger scale than what we're used to. But it does give a lot of people that hunger back. I think the KOLs that might have hit big on Dog with Hat or, Fart Coin and stuff like that. Now they're going to be, in my opinion, hustling to try to get some of these coins to higher market cap. So in a sense, it could be a good thing for a run up for Q4.
Yeah, 100%. Before we kind of get into what happened, let's talk with that for a second, right? So, we had a meta, this year, and that meta was basically leverage trading, right? I mean, everyone and their mom was leveraging, taking leverage and Hyperliquid and Aster, and it was like that was the biggest thing, and a lot of them got told a lesson. Do you agree with that? Do you think a lot of these people on leverage were really just like, okay, maybe this isn't what I thought it was?
Well, I think the lesson is always greed, but that's something that humans haven't been able to shed since the existence of the human existence, right? So, if you look at every cycle, leverage is always kind of like this explosive event that happens at some point and cripples a lot of people that made a lot of money in the space, right? So, I just think that we revisited that at a much larger scale on Friday.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's jump right into it. What happened? So there's a couple different takes here. I'm gonna read them both to you. Just let me know your opinions on them. So this is the first one from Hanzo DeFi. He said, "What really happened? A 10-10-25 recap. Binance will just reminded everyone who really runs this market. This crash wasn't about Trump, tariffs, or macro. That was noise. The real story happened inside the order books. One market maker you definitely know, Wintermute, moved 700 million to Binance hours before the crash. 200 million of that was in Bitcoin. Few noticed. Then traditional markets bled. Then as traditional markets bled, crypto started filing, but something was off. The order books on Binance went hollow. No bids, no walls, just a free fall waiting to happen. Volumes on Bitcoin candles at the hour 23. 2K sold. At the hour 0, 12K sold. Even 1 minute candle had 1K Bitcoin inside. Was this organic? At 108K, liquidation pressure hit terminal volatility. Velocity. Binance's own market maker stopped defending the price and pulled liquidity. This is exactly why Atom went to 0.001. And the worst part, traders couldn't even fight back. On every other exchange, you could close, hedge, or buy the dip manually. On Binance, button stopped working. Stop orders froze. Limit orders hung. Only liquidations were executed perfectly, but not in the way should have been executed. Think about it. Your position 50x cross margin stop at -1%. Market dumps 50%. Your stop never hits. Your account gets nuked 25x, and if you were mirrored across pairs, it's game over. So, what's your take from this? Do you believe this is one of the scenarios that could have happened?
Well, it sounds like that's what he researched and found out most likely is what took place. I did see on my timeline that people that were trying to arbitrage and take advantage of some situations got, cross margin situations got nuked. And you're talking about 3 to 5x leverage, max on some of these people that were thinking that they were, being very smart and even conservative in the world of leverage. Leverage obviously is not conservative in a sense, right? And by nature, but 3 to 5x is the low end, right? So even those type of people got wiped out. $30 million, I think, was his account. So it was really unfortunate how this all played out. And I mean, this is why I think a lot of people are trying to point the finger at Binance. They come back and say, well, blockchains they never stop, but websites can because of servers and API issues and stuff like that. So you're already starting to see some people trying to come up with some solutions for that. So that can't be an excuse anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And we do know that Binance has been feeding Wintermute for weeks, and Wintermute hasn't really been dumping. They waited for something like yesterday to happen to dump the markets. Like it's, I mean, the amount of Bitcoin they dumped at one time was absolutely insane. This was all in minutes of each other, just dump, dump, dump. It was almost like they forgot that they were a market maker and they thought that they were just like, you know, they were just get rid of their trash. I mean, honestly, they destroyed Wintermute, in my opinion, is evil. I mean, that's just, you know, one of the things that I think. But, you know, a lot of people, other people would say, hey, they're just doing the job that they're asked to do. And they are, right? At the end of the day, that their Binance is giving them excess crypto, and they're figuring out ways to dump it without causing a complete collapse. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, their job is to kind of balance out the markets as well, you know. So yes, there's going to be moments where they're creating the sell pressure, but then there'll be moments to where they like also catch some of the, if they start to create it and retail whales jump in, you know, they kind of catch some of the knives because they're there to kind of rebalance things as well. So yeah, they are doing their job. You know, I wonder, because I think I saw CZ say, maybe I saw this incorrectly, that like they don't use, you know, outside third party market makers, and so, you know, unless they consider Wintermute like an internal one, then what is that? You know, does that mean there's no relationship there? But there's obviously, like, they're sending, you know, assets back and forth to each other. So you know, the one thing that was, you know, constant across the board was that the market makers seem to not really be able to push orders, you know, through the order book during that time frame. And so that's what kind of created that huge bloody, like, just red candles all the way down, especially on Binance, right? The one that went to, like, Atom went to zero, negative, I think it was. And
Yeah.
so we haven't seen anything like that before. But this goes pretty deep, you know, talking about like how their centralized exchanges don't even really report the full liquidity or liquidation amounts. And so, you know, how much is being hid through centralized exchanges, and, you know, we're obviously able to research because of blockchain stuff, right? And so that's another part of this kind of, like, TradFi is probably like, this is weird because whenever something weird happens over there, yeah, you can do research, but usually the SEC steps in. But there's like online sleuths here that, you know, like Marty Party or other people that are really good at research that are going to call things out, like that guy Hanzo.
Yeah, 100%. And then to your point, Jeff Yan, who is the co-founder of, you know, Hyperliquid, said that some centralized exchanges may have underreported liquidation data by as much as 100 times. And if you go to see what's reported right now, we're seeing 19.16 actually being reported. And, you know, this is number one now by almost double of the previous one. There was one, you know, April 18th. 2021. I think this is off though, because I remember this being on my son's birthday, and it's not the 18th. I think it was like 13th or 14th. But anyway, this was when the basically you know, the China crackdown. Basically, this is when, you know, China came out and they banned Bitcoin. This was like the biggest, one of the biggest crashes I remember for my portfolio, because I was up only from that till that point, right? So, and then prior to that was, you know, a couple months later was when Tesla's reversal stance, when BlackRock came in and told Tesla, like, yo, we're gonna sell your stock down if you don't, like, stop this Bitcoin stuff. And that was the third one. So this is the last, you know, 4 or 5 years that we've seen these big ones.
Yeah, look how many happened in 2021 though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You have like 4 or 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in 2021 that were in the top. That was tough. It was like so up and down that year. But yeah, you know, this is big. They are attributing it to, you can see their US tariff hike on China. That's what the attribution is for, like, why this happened. But we know that there's probably stuff behind the scenes. But, you know, probably happened the same way with the other ones too. Stuff behind the scenes, you know, market
Well,
makers and stuff like that.
what do you think about the CEO of Hyperliquid basically saying, like, yo, this should be like 190 billion?
Yeah. I saw that in other places too, that, you know, the reporting isn't true. Like, it's not accurate. You know, they're underreporting drastically.
Yeah,
Maybe because
pretty.
they don't want to freak people out, you know, the market's out. Because if you, I mean, think about if you went to 200 billion, then you try to compare it to the ones that before that, and it's like it reminds me of the Aster total volume, you know, from
Yeah.
Aster to Hyperliquid or Aster to lighter. Something's weird, right?
Mhm.
But with this, you're kind of like, yeah, it was just really intense, but it's, you know, it's at least like, you know, kind of close. But if you put 200 billion up there, then the world's gonna freak out.
Yeah, 100%. But like, think about though too. Like 5 years ago, you could probably only take leverage out on maybe 8 or 9 coins, right? I mean, max. I don't think it was probably Cardano. You know, these exchanges weren't putting themselves at risk. It's like back then was like putting up meme coins today, right? You just don't want to do that right away for leverage. I mean, you do, but you don't want to be like, you know, overwhelm the markets with that stuff. So, you know, that's kind of why too. Now we're able to do 100x leverage on pretty much any coin that you want, any of the top 200-300 coins. Do you think that's the kind of another reason why we're seeing these giant liquidation moves constantly now, is because people are just over leveraging themselves on really risky assets?
Obviously, it's more risky now than it was then, but I think they've started to kind of onboard some newer stuff last cycle as well. But it's not close. You know, right now
Yeah.
they're just trying to get you know, anything that's hot and has that energy and stuff. They want to try to get it up on the perps dexes. So yeah, that probably has something to do with it. I think there's a lot of people in Web3 that are native Web3 people that probably have learned from previous cycles a little bit about being too risky with their, you know, leverage multiplier, right? So, you know, that's why this one hurt, I think, some of these bigger accounts, is because some of them were probably doing 5, maybe 10x, you know, but there was some that got liquidated all the way down. Like I think you had mentioned someone was thought they were completely safe, right? And then they got hit, right? And then certain
Yeah.
coins, it was weird. It's so crazy because, like, you know, I know we're gonna get into it in a bit, but like, you know, Merlin was like one of, I think, 5 tokens. You were lucky if you were in one of those perps positions with Merlin or one of those other 4, because they survived. They were one of the only that survived that liquidation candle.
Yeah. There was an account on X, to your point. He basically said that he was managing him and his sister's money. He had about $120,000 as of Thursday, and he had a 2x leverage positional pump. It got liquidated. 2x leverage positional pump. Think about that for a second. You know how hard it would be to get liquidated on a 2x leverage? Like that is, it's almost nearly
Really hard.
impossible. Like, especially, you know, so he thought he was safe, but he thought, you know, we don't really, you know, having this $100,000 you know, worth of, you know, tokens, let's make that 200,000. So every 1 penny that pump makes, we get 2 pennies, right? So in a way, that's kind of like, you know, it's helping you a little bit, but you are putting yourself at risk. But who thought that we were going to see a 90% drop on pump?
Well, I think it's more of like percentage risk exposure. And, you know, a lot of times you think because you bring it all the way down to even 2x, right, that you wouldn't get liquidated, which I completely understand where he was coming from. But there's one kind of risky part of that equation that is still there, and his exposure was too much. It was almost all of
Yeah.
everything, right? So I think that's probably a lesson that some of these people are going to take, is the ones that did go 2 to 5x leverage, they were overexposed of their total bankroll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a thing that you know, I'm starting to see that this crypto space and Web3 space has a problem with is kind of like all in or nothing, you
Yeah.
know. And something that our space can probably learn from TradFi is to diversify, but you know, you can still be, you know, take risk in certain situations, but you like having full exposure into that risk is where the problem is, even if it's minimal risk.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of people, including myself, who still do it, right? Like, I'm in like 1 or 2 tokens. That's it right now. So it's like I do get it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? The people who were all in on Tesla, you know, back 5 years ago, they won, right? They won drastically. So it is high risk, and but you have to really trust the assets that you're doing that with. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. But that's a spot versus a perp. So in spot,
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
fine in spot.
Yeah, 100%. Rand Nooner actually has a different, you know, saying on this. He said, let's look at the winners and stuff like that. We're going to get into that. But like first, he kind of gives his developments of what happened. So if you think the events the last 48 hours were coincidental, think again. The first sell-off started moments after the U.S. market closed on a Friday at the time when Asia and Europe were both sleeping. So at 4 p.m. Eastern time was when the markets closed. That is 4 a.m. for Asia, and that is around 10 p.m. for Europe. And on a Friday, no one's really looking at the markets, right? Especially in Europe at 10 p.m. on a Friday, nothing usually happens. The oracles mysteriously all misfired prices. That caused a liquidation cascade. The market maker system glitched and weren't creating efficient liquidity. The large exchanges had user access issues. Users couldn't buy the dip. The data sites like CoinGlass and other mysteriously hacked at the same time. People are saying they got DDoS attacked. This was highly coordinated and well executed attack. So he's saying that this was an attack on the oracles. This was an attack on the data providers, and this was an attack on Binance. Do you think that is something that might have happened?
If I put my conspiracy tinfoil hat on, yes, because there's a currency war that's happening that not many people are talking about, in my opinion. Again, remember, this is the tinfoil hat speaking right now, but I do have some belief in this, that, the current situation, which was previously the West, is split up. You have the United States, which used to be really tight knit with the globalist type of movement, one world kind of government mentality, World Economic Forum, all that good stuff, right? Well, that split up. Now you have the EU and Canada kind of against the United States, and United States trying to kind of figure out its footing. So, this could be a situation to where, an enemy of the United States could have, coordinated this attack. Right now, that's, like I said, that's a conspiracy type of approach to this, but you got to figure, scratch your head and say, now this is very well executed. Like he mentioned, everything that needed to be, moving correctly wasn't, and there's different separate components to each of those. They work together, but they, you know what I mean? And so for that to happen, it's just really suspicious.
My only argument, though, is Binance is majority Asian, right? I mean, I can't even open a Binance account.
Yeah, so this perspective would eliminate Binance from being the evil person. So there's two different perspectives. The perspectives that we talked about initially with Wintermute and Binance.
Yeah.
That's the fingers that kind of point towards Binance and Wintermute. The second one is more straight political kind of currency wars in the background. So it would have to kind of mean that Binance was a little, unknowing of all the stuff that's happening, basically, is what I'm saying. So I think there's two possibilities there, obviously. But we're never gonna get the exact answer, because no one's gonna come forward and say, oh, well, it's actually the administration that's been working with this government, that government, that, that's just not gonna happen. So
Yeah.
I think the more important question is like, how do we move forward from this? And I think if you're a player in this market, it's, don't use give yourself complete exposure to your bankroll to leverage, number one. Number two, look at the reset as an opportunity and see what sectors are being pushed hard, because I think there's going to be groups of people that might have gotten liquidated, and some big names in the space have gotten liquidated, and those big names can make it again. They've made it several. We're talking about millions of dollars, so
Yeah.
they're probably going to try to get behind a strong meta and push hard, because they want to make that money back. So that's something to look out for.
That's what I'm kind of hoping for, right? I'm kind of hoping for a lot of these people who were semi-retired kind of get back in the game. Right? I mean, nothing good happened. Right? I'm not going to say anything good happened from the last couple of days, but we might have a lot of people now that are saying, "Hey, I made my wealth in crypto. I made my wealth in the trenches. I can do it again." Right? That reset of a lot of people over leverage themselves in retirement. I don't know. It just seems like an exciting time right now that a lot of people are hungry again. And I think for the first time in a while, we're seeing participants say, "Okay, it's time to throw my hat back in the ring. I'm ready. I'm ready to win again."
Yeah, well, and also a point that I think that we got to remember is that the people that did have like 20-30 million dollars, they probably were saying, okay, in this Q4 run up, this is where my retirement, that can turn into my full-blown retirement for me and my sister, or for whoever, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably why they went a little bit heavier on like full exposure. But like 2x full exposure, you still have that 2x percentage of getting completely wiped out, and the worst case scenario happened to them. So
yeah, I mean, I would put a 5% chance of getting liquidated, honestly, but it happened, and that's kind of what happens there. But there was some winners, according to Rand. He said, "Let's look at the winners and losers of the stress tests." Solana was a true layer 1 winner, max TPS, no downtime, and low cost. I didn't really play during this, so I don't know if that's true or not. That's his number 1 winner. His number 2 winner was Hype. No issues at all. Insane fees, though. So then the fees were super high to do anything. He said Zcash actually gained on the day. MERL actually gained on the day. This is the first time I've ever seen. He didn't even let himself cash tag it. Like, he knew what he was doing. How do you have all these cash tags, but then you mess up on MERL? You put it too close to the dot, right? I don't know what he was doing there, but it does seem a little fishy that he didn't want to cash tag it. ETH was slow and expensive, $1,500 plus per transaction. 5, sexes failed. I hate to say it, but Binance failed the worst. 6, centralized market makers failed. Centralized solutions like Derwu worked well, and then Atom went to 0. So what's your take on his biggest winners and losers from this past weekend?
yeah, so looking at that list, it's you got to figure out what made these specific assets thrive during this time. And I say thrive by saying they didn't get completely wiped out, right? Like even for that just candle and bounce back, because a lot of them bounced back, of course. So you got to kind of see, obviously some of these are blue chips, Solana, Ethereum, Hyperliquid's coming into that. They're new, so eventually they will be considered a blue chip if they keep on that same trajectory. But the ones that are up and coming, right? Like you have ZEC, ZEC, you have Merlin, and then Atom's been around for a while, but it hasn't made it into that upper echelon just yet.
Zcash too, though. Zcash been around since 2018.
So then really it's just what Merlin but kind of standing out by itself there.
Yeah.
Hyperliquid's newer.
Yeah.
So those are the two kind of new to this list. When I say new to the list, I mean new as in haven't been around for a while to establish. I think 2024 both of them came out. So they really are going to shine, in my opinion, because people are going to study that. All right. And then you see right under there, the social team from Merlin Chain jumped into that opportunity, which they should, and commented. So you gotta appreciate that hard work, man.
Yeah, and Marty Party even comments here and says solid recap, right? Like, this is Marty Party. This is somebody who I think we both highly respect here, coming in and basically said Rand's spot on with this, right? So I saw some mixed stuff with Solana though, about people, a lot of failed transactions and stuff like that. There were ETH maxis that were saying it, so I took that with a grain of salt. But I don't know if this should be the number one, because I did see some stuff about Phantom while it failed. But that it could have been Phantom Wild issues and not Solana, right? So like, I think you had some experience with Hyperliquid where you said that MetaMask wasn't connecting, right?
Yeah, I think it was more MetaMask though than Hyperliquid, but I honestly don't know. But if they're saying Hyperliquid didn't have any downtime or anything like that, then I pretty much am assuming that it was MetaMask being overwhelmed.
Yeah. I mean, the CEO of Hyperliquid came out too and said, "Hey, we were fine." But Rand did say here, this insane fees. What do you think it's insane fees for Hype would be? I've never experienced like normal fees.
I don't know how they would. I wonder if it's a running variable or something in those type of times. But isn't like so? There is the I forgot what it's called. But it's like a fee where there's like a third party participant. So like the people that do like USDE and stuff like that provide liquidity and stuff. So the fees can jump up, I think, depending upon availability and stuff. And obviously that was a really like high stress moment. So that's probably why the fees were really high. So that sucks because like, if you're in a situation to where you haven't gotten liquidated yet, but you're trying to get out of positions, but then you just get hit with enormous fees and you're getting liquidated. You thought you're saving some money. You end up kind of losing anyways.
Yeah. 100%.
It was a hard win situation. It was a hard to kind of mitigate that damage if you were in positions. It was really hard.
Yeah. Imagine just being short. I mean, how big of a, like we're coming at it from the long position, right? But imagine just having a Bitcoin short or like, Solana short at that point. You made out like a bandit, but you probably had issues closing.
That's exactly right. So that's what. So in these very kind of rare situations, even more so, you give credit to the take profits and stop losses that people set to, because if I set a take profit and the price hit, but it didn't give me profit, I would be extremely upset to publicly with
Yeah.
Hyperliquid, because I would be like, okay, I can understand if I try to manually close my short, but the system was just kind of overwhelmed for me to manually do it. But I set my take profits for a reason. So, I mean, there was very small situations to where there was winners. There was a very small group of winners. Obviously, there was a lot of money that certain people made, but they did it very strategically. Like it was well thought out. But if you were trying to play that moment by moment, I think it was less than like maybe 3% chance that you would be able to do that. You know what I mean? Moment by moment. Now, some people did benefit, I think, on the kind of coming back up with their centralized exchanges. I think some people got SUI at like 80 cents or something like that on the way back up on like their centralized exchanges. So those retail people definitely were smart, and they maybe have been in like high stress situations like this before, because they just were like, okay, I'm just gonna keep trying. Was it gonna hurt? You know what I mean? And they just keep trying. And some of them got SUI at like 80 cents, 90 cents. So that's quick thinking and quick acting to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, 100%. I saw some on the timeline too. Some people put like back in like 2020, 2021, they put like limit orders on Atom for like 80 cents, and they just completely forgot about it, right? And then it went and ended up buying that Atom that they totally forgot about. They had limit orders set from 4 or 5 years ago that were just hitting constantly. Avalanche, super cheap, Solana, super cheap. And then you know what I mean? So now they're sitting on those coins now up 3, 4, or 5x from where they accidentally bought them. So I mean, it might be a good idea to just put limit orders on, like even like Hail Marys, right? Just like, hey, Solana at $100, because you never know.
That's true. That is true. And plus, what will it hurt you? You know what I mean? Because if you're putting like those kind of doomsday limit buy orders on, whales love those kind of situations. So you're just basically trying to take advantage of that low percentage chance of it happening, which it still didn't go below 100K. Bitcoin didn't, but it touched 102, I think, in some like areas, right? But it was so quick. Like like when it wicked to 102, it got back to 105 really quick, and so like you had to play this like flawlessly to be able to take advantage of some of the tokens.
100%. All right. So people are comparing this to what happened with Luna, the Luna crash that sent like everything. So what happened with Luna is basically the UST went to zero. And then everyone who had leverage on it, or everyone who had a stake, they lost dramatically, right? Everyone thought they were so safe getting 20% APY. It's like, why would I hold crypto when I can hold UST and earn 20% APY, and it's paid in Luna? Like, it was like the biggest thing for them. But then after it crashed, during the crash, we were hearing people say, hey, there's some really big hedge funds and companies that got wiped out from this. Those companies ended up being 3 Arrow Capital, BlockFi, Celsius, right, and a lot of other ones. They all got like destroyed on this. So Jason Williams, somebody who's highly respected, but he can be a little bit off sometimes, I guess is a nice way to say it. He said this could get worse. Get coins off exchanges ASAP. 3 public blockchains project parties, asset management positions liquidated with losses of 100 million. 4 market makers, 3 Chinese, 1 American, with losses of 300 million. 2 mining companies, asset management positions liquidated with the losses of about 1 billion. 3 secondary funds are scrambling everywhere to find money to plug the holes. 4 second tier exchanges have losses exceeding $500 million. He's basically saying, hey, there might be some insolvent exchanges, some companies that are going to be coming from this, and he might be just this idea of this might be just from PTSD of the Luna situation, but that ended up being really bad, and it took months to find out who got hit the hardest, right? And do you think this is true? Do you think potentially we might be seeing some companies really got hit hard with this, or do you think this is kind of Jason Williams overblown again?
I mean, those are some pretty specific numbers, right? So for him to come out with that, he better have some sort of decent source that's giving him that. But I think the situation is different right now because the administration for the U.S. is very pro crypto. The family business is very involved with our industry. I think they will try really hard to be able to cover things up before, versus the previous administrations, right? So, even if there are a lot of these situations happening, there's probably like some war room that's happening, what I mean, like what's going on, and they're probably trying to get information from like a bunch of entities, and not saying that like, if this entity goes down, that goes down, then their business interests and stuff are just gonna go to crap. But they probably want a healthy, strong looking digital asset market heading into Q4 because it's going to benefit them and what they're involved with, right? That might sound shady or whatever, corrupt, but it is what it is, and don't act like it hasn't happened forever in the existence of mankind. So there's not any like, there's always shadiness happening in financial markets. It's always there. So
Yeah,
I do think that they would, try to mitigate as much like fear in this market right now as possible.
I mean, you're right. Every president who's ever went in, let's just say they had a $2 million net worth, they came out with $200 million. How does that happen? No one really knows, and they say book deal, right? But who's actually buying all these books, right? So I mean, we're seeing that all over the place, or speaking engagements, right? That's how a lot of these politicians make their money. Where like some bank will just give them $200 million for a speaking engagement. Like, okay, that doesn't seem shady at all. But Trump's last administration, he went in being worth six, I think it was like whatever the number was, but he lost like half his money, half his wealth when he left, right? But this time he's like, no, I'm not doing that again. I'm making money this time around. And crypto seemed to be his place of choice, but that comes with a lot of scrutiny now because you have the president of the United States fully in. I mean, there's not one part of him, in my opinion, that's not in. He wants to tokenize all of his real estate now. He's letting his sons really take control of it. And there's rumors now that, right before his speech, Barron Trump came in and made $80 million. I don't know how true that is, but apparently he was short on Friday. That's just obviously speculation and rumors, but it's something to always, keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, it has shown that his growth has increased. And the one bad part of that, though, is right now is that like he does have like true kind of enemies right on the other side that are still in powerful area positions and like that make the global finance world move. And so it kind of puts a little bit of a target on the digital asset industry, right? So in my opinion, he needs to get more friends and a lot of places, and so they want this space to thrive and they can join. But the biggest goal I think of this current administration should be to solidify the space, and to do that you got to get mass adoption with Visa, MasterCard, the banking institutions, even though they're against it, and he's having some pushback a little bit with that, but we'll see how far we can get in terms of making it everything like accepted for society.
Yeah, 100%. And what do you think though? Do you think going back to what Jason Williams said, do you think that we're about to see a lot of carnage from this attack, I guess you would say?
I think they're gonna, if that is the case, I think they're going to try to cover it up until 2026, right? They'll try to put band-aids all over it, and then at some point in 2026, it'll either come out to the, public, or they will have fixed it with like borrowing and like the TradFi guys that are like the giants behind it all. They help each other out until a certain extent. If you messed up too bad, then you're done in the space. Like Melvin Capital was he just didn't want to go to jail for the rest of his life, and so that's when Citadel came out and helped him out. But you're done, basically, is what they said, right? So
yeah, 100%. All right, let's get into the crypto fear and greed here. So last week we were at 60, bro, 59. Yesterday we were at 31. Pretty bad Saturday night, I guess. Where do you think we are right now? I'll give you a hint though. We are higher than yesterday's 41, but we're lower than last week's 59, and we're still in fear, but barely.
49.
40.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we should be 49 though, to your point. I think that, the way the market blew up yesterday, I mean, we're gonna talk about it later after Jeff, but like the rebound was pretty insane. I think this should be higher.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit of let's wait and see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's wait and see how the market truly responds. You got to give at least, close to a week of how the market's going to react to an event like that. Because I think most people would probably expect some sort of bounce back the next day. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And we got that. Or not the next day, but at least the next day or two. And it being a weekend, Sunday was kind of the day that you have an opportunity to reset, right, for that next coming up week, and that seems to be what happened. So I think if we continue this way, then we will get more towards greed as the week progresses.
I hope so, for sure. All right, let's get into the Bitcoin price action and crypto bubbles. Brought to you guys by Artura.finance. Artura, these guys are building something truly special. In my opinion, they're building right now on Botonics. They will be on other chains as well. There's a big chain that they're building on right now that'll come out in a few weeks. Really excited for that. But if you guys are interested in trading perps, low leverage, guys, low leverage is low money. So the reason why I'm pushing this is the main reason is Botonics is giving the biggest Bitcoin airdrop ever. And by playing on Artura on Botonics, you're going to be able to get a big part of that. And on top of that, if you do end up getting some good P&L, you can potentially get on this chart. In first place, we do know you're going to get $5,000. Second, third, and fourth, and fifth place, you're going to split another $5,000. And on top of that, they're giving away some ARA tokens. I think just getting on this list will be worth it in the future if they end up doing some type of airdrop. I highly recommend you guys coming over here and starting to play a little bit. And if you're interested as well, you can just do trades on USDT just to be a part of it, right? So just to be get some volume and get a potential part of any type of airdrop they ever do. So, but to highly recommend, get over here, start using Artura.finance today.
Absolutely. Don't miss tomorrow's Trader's Edge at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can learn more about Artura and go over some educational stuff for the markets. Perfect timing. We haven't talked to them since the big, huge crash. So this could be a fun one. Because I think Zutada called that one, by the way. But
He
let's
called a
get into
crash? I think you're right. Yeah, he did.
yeah, he called a pullback. Yeah, he called a pullback. He said maybe a little bit lower percentage chance, but he did say, there is a chance of it getting towards 107 or whatever. I don't think anybody expected 102, but let's get into some price action. But before we do, help us out on the YouTube side, smash that like, sub to the channel, turn your notifications on, all that great stuff. On the X side, let's share the space, guys. Same thing with was it Abstract, Rumble, Kick, and Twitch as well. Spotify, don't forget about that one. But let's jump into some price action here. See this line I drew was on Friday. I was like, as long as we can, stay above this resistance level here, then we'll be fine. And it said, just basically just missiled down towards that wick price of it's showing 107 here, but I did see people say it wicked at 102. So I don't know. Maybe I need to look
It
at a
depends where you
different.
look. On
Yeah,
Binance, it did, but on like where are you looking at? What's your chart on?
Binance got hit the worst out of all of them, right? Because of
Yeah.
the thin liquidity and all that stuff. So, all right, let's take a look here. You can see the sell pressure is still looking strong. Actually, I'm starting with the daily. Let me go back to the hourly. Okay, so still same thing. Sell pressure looks kind of strong of where we're at right now. And you can see, it did try to break out of that, but it didn't fully get there, and now it broke back down. So it has a continuation of the sell pressure you see from the MACD there. That momentum has continued there. And the stochastics as well. You can see the blue line is kind of bent back towards the wanting to go back down. So, maybe we see a little bit of this candle getting eaten up here. We got about 16 minutes left for this candle. We'll see if it has a continuation with the sell pressure, gets aggressive or not. Let's kind of pull in. I'm curious of what the battle looks like with support and resistance here. And it looks like we're going to 6 a.m. here. So you can see at the 114, 230, support is kicking in here. So thin liquidity though. So, some big buy orders can really push up here. And we really have, the lead all the way going up until, up here. So it rebalances at 114, 800. So maybe we do kind of break this back out and break down the momentum on the MACD. So that is something to look out for here. Definitely would just me personally be watching. I'm definitely not taking leverage right now on Bitcoin or anything. I'm just kind of trying to see, you know, like I said, you give it about a week after, you know, once people get back and situated to see if how they feel, because you'll get that sentiment will come out, that true sentiment will come out, and you'll see, okay, wow, you know, we went from bullish to bearish in Q4 because the sentiment is strong, but that's not what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing obviously a good Sunday, but during the week is really important. So I think by Wednesday we'll have a good idea how people are truly responding to this, especially, you know, some of these institutions, because it seems like they don't really care. It seems like they're coming in buying up Ethereum. You know, like you said, Tom Lee was like, I don't really care. I'm just going to buy more. This is cheaper actually. So something to keep your eye on is just watching how Bitcoin reacts the next couple days. But for the if you're trying to do a short-term trade, definitely, you know, see if we can try to break down this sell pressure first. So right now it does seem like the battle is kind of being won in the kind of local trade battle between you know, the sellers and the buyers. The buyers seem to have a little bit of an edge right now, so we'll see if we can break this down and kind of go back into buy pressure. Yeah, so that is Bitcoin for the 1 hour chart. So the forecast on 2, 4, 6, next 2, 4, 6, 8 hours there. And then the 4 hour chart looks like we have broken down a little bit of this buy pressure, but it is early. And also, if that 1 hour chart does, you know, show that we do want to kind of continue that domination to the upside and kind of break down that sell pressure that we saw there, then we could have a continuation here. So nothing has really shown being broken down on the 4 hour chart yet, right? You see we're still in buy pressure. Yes, it is showing a little weakness here, but you can see the fast line still kind of pointing to that upside. And we just kind of arrived in this overbought territory. So we could be camping out here for a bit, especially if that 1 hour chart gives us some buy pressure to the upside. The daily chart is something definitely we want to keep our eye on. This is something that is showing still that sell pressure, right? So probably have to get to like 120 to start to break this down, or have that aggressive push up to like 118, 120 to start to break this down, because it's obviously still looking strong. I mean, it had a lot of sell pressure to kind of build into this strong looking kind of sell pressure for the MACD, right? So, you know, right now, today, it seems like there is a little bit back and forth. And yesterday, obviously, we had this strong daily candle. We'll see if we can follow it up here, but maybe even if we end with a small, you know, daily sell candle, red candle, that's okay, because, you know, we had a good rebound yesterday. I think tomorrow would be really, you know, you need to pay attention to see if we have another follow-up strong green candle to this one that we had yesterday. So daily, I wouldn't pay too much attention to it right now, honestly. If you are trying to, you know, do something in size, then I would say this would probably make me say I need to wait, right? Because if you're looking at the hour candle, it gives you some good data. The 4 hour candle looks a little lost right now. This doesn't look lost in terms of the indicators. The indicator says we're still in sell pressure. So I would say probably chill out if I was trying to be really conservative, right? So that's something to keep your eye on. But this week we'll really kind of see if this breaks down or if we go into another kind of downtrend, which I don't expect that to happen, but I didn't expect anything close to Friday to happen. So Ethereum, very similar situation as Bitcoin. Actually, I feel like it will kind of bounce back recently a little bit better. You see us kind of, 4130 is the price point there. It is very similar in terms of, like, I guess, like the indicators here. It does look like it wants to pull out of the sell pressure though, so that's a good sign. But probably don't see ETH running past Bitcoin just yet. I still think Bitcoin is kind of leading the charge here, but maybe that changes. Maybe if we see something hyper aggressive to ETH, to where Bitcoin's kind of moving slow, and then we see ETH kind of speed past it, meaning, like, it wants to get like to 5,000 like a magnet, then we could maybe say, okay, ETH and some of these alts want to do its own thing, but we're not there yet. Let's take a look at the crypto bubbles. The crypto bubbles for the top 100 looking pretty good. Most alts have bounced back. You're seeing about a 95 to 5% green to red ratio. Some of these big names that have thrived, this SNX up 91%, but you see Story Protocol up 21%. So that's a good move for Story there. Mutable X out of all people, up 11.5%. Wilfi up about 12%. So something to watch. Obviously, the Trump organization has strong involvement there. Tau is something that we talk about a lot, when we're show prepping or just like brainstorming, because Tau is one of those that, has a lot of use for crypto and just society, being that that blockchain that powers AI, right? So up 14.1%. Stacks up 7% or 6.7% there. Hyperliquid up 2.4%. The Trump token up 4.5% there. Lido up 6%. Aave up 3.2%. You got Pangu pulling up 3% and Chainlink up 6%. I'm surprised the oracles didn't get hit super hard or stay at least kind of in the red a little bit, because they were a big part of the issue, I think, in terms of reporting to these these perps platforms, right? So
I'm curious if you went to the weekly what Link did, because I think Link had a terrible downward. Yeah, there we go. They're down 13%. Because you got to remember yesterday was so bullish, right? So it's one of those things where I think you're right. I think they all did get hit during the that big pull down.
Yeah, and maybe Saturday morning too, because everybody's like, "What the heck?" They were a big part of the problem. But I think maybe people also realize that it wasn't necessarily their issue. It was kind of like, okay, if crypto and these blockchains and data providers are going to rely on Web2 infrastructure like servers and stuff like that, then that's what's the point whenever there's like a big crash down, you know what I mean? And so, or
Well,
like
it came out that Binance wasn't using Chainlink; they were using their own, and
oh,
people were using. They
yeah,
had
that's
their
right.
own Oracle. So the exchanges that were using Chainlink,
Binance,
like Hyperliquid, they were fine.
so Binance affected everybody else's pricing probably.
Well, that's the thing too. Like Mexi, for instance, they use Binance's pricing because they're cheap and they don't want to pay for the Chainlink Oracle. A lot of other places do as well. So that was the big drawdown. Is Binance, and the funny part is on October 8th, Binance came out and said they're switching to a new Oracle. People are thinking
So it was like
going
an
to Chainlink.
8-day window,
Yeah.
actually,
Yep.
and so they were using their own and that's when this happened. It's just
Yep.
so crazy. There's so many like coincidences, right? So
I know.
I think we could probably spend like months and months trying to figure out what happened, but at the end of the day, it happened, and we, let's look for the opportunities heading into Q4. I think is a smart way to look at it. All right, top 200 here. FTT bouncing up
Oh my God.
5.2%. Falcon Finance, huge gain back up,
Yeah.
31%. Some of the new ones probably got hit the hardest, but then if they are have strong substance to them, they probably rebounded the hardest. And so Falcon Finance has been in the news a lot. So looks like this was a big run up.
Huge airdrop too, right? A lot of tokens that were airdropped over the last 2 weeks were dumped the hardest because people felt like it was free money and they just wanted to get what they can from it. So yeah, I think that's kind of what the big problem is with a lot of these airdrops, because we know people that were staking Bitcoin on Falcon Finance and got a huge amount of Falcon Finance because they were doing that. And some people feel when tokens are free, they'll take anything.
Yep. Fartcoin up 6.2%. Dogwolf Hat up 8% there. Hex pulling up almost 13%. So a lot of these are pulling up like pretty strong because of how beaten up they were, right? But then you had something like Merlin. It pulled back 5% today, but that's understandable because it like actually went up in price whenever like it. I was watching it very carefully, right? And it pulled back like a couple cents, which was nothing comparative to everybody else. But then it started to push up, and because I think people were trying to short it, and they got liquidated, and so it's down 5% today. But you're sitting at a 35-cent Merlin after going through all that stuff. I think anybody would take that if you're in that position, right? Then you have like Pulse X up 8.6%, Barra up almost about 14%, 13.7%. So yeah, most everything is bounced back. You might have some outliers. Mix looks like it's down almost 14% here. It's a perps platform. So I don't know. Maybe perps take a hit a little bit from some of this as well, because that's where everybody really got hurt, right?
Yeah, I'm expecting the perps, how we're seeing like insane volume, like 9 billion here, 4 billion here. Obviously, I'm not counting Aster's insane 80 billion, but I think you're going to see a lot of less people playing right now, because it's just PTSD, right? You don't want to keep falling for the same mistakes over and over and over. So you might see a lot of those fees drop in half potentially going forward, but
yeah.
let's get into this next thing here, which is roll call. We every single day we go into the comments and take the first comment. We put it on a spreadsheet. Congratulations today, Tim Baker, AODR himself, 17th win of the year. Congratulations. I think you were probably in 4th place at this point, so congratulations to you. Climbing here. I got a lot of time left. We still have 3 months left. It does look like Webdro and Lackey Lukey are the two guys sitting here. Webdro has 49. Lackey Lukey has 48. So that is a battle between those guys. But shout out to Tim Baker, man. Still grinding, still climbing the charts here. Appreciate you, my friend. Webdro was right there. 25 minutes later, shout out to Webdro. Rare Sats Dom is here, my guy. Really appreciate you, man, always being here. Bitcoin is Truth is here. Glass Hopper with the what's up? What's up, Glass Hopper? Abstract is here. What's up, guys? How you doing, buddy? Vader Time is here. He says the market is confusing. I think that is that's dead on. We're supposed to be bullish. We have these giant wicks. Yeah, I agree. Spindrift is here. Kane99 is here. Chief Axel, the legend himself. Mer is here. GM12, good to see you, Mer. First time in a while, man. Really appreciate you stopping in. Myself says liquidation events will only get bigger and bigger. The event will likely be forgotten. Don't forget to sign up for my Bybit. Yeah, and I see that a lot from a lot of big YouTubers, especially BitBoy. He pushes his Bybit all the time. But yeah, so I agree. I mean, obviously, you know, when we're at a $4 trillion market cap total, I think, you know, in 10 years we're going to be at a $40 trillion, right? I mean, and you know, but that's the thing. TradFi, they lost more in liquidations like than we did technically, but their market is just so big that it's only like 1 or 2%.
That's yeah. I mean, that's what made me feel kind of okay when I heard that they lost 1 trillion. But if you look at the ratio, they don't feel it as much as we do.
Yeah, when their market size is 100 trillion, our market size is 4. Right, so when we lose, you know, 100, what are the $19 billion?
They say it's more like 400 billion, right? So
yeah, so 100%. But they lost, you know, I think it was like $13 trillion from Friday, but they gained it back, right? I mean, in value, if you count like the total, I'm talking gold and everything, you know, because gold alone is 25 trillion, and gold lost like $1 trillion when it fell down to like 3,900. But then you saw, you know, $6 trillion company, Nvidia lost 3%. That's, you know, it's hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's just one of those things where those guys are just so big. Patty Poo, sup. 1+@ is here. Shout out to 1+@. Stan says, in a bullish forecast, as many have predicted, how does this channel protect against current unpredictables? Moving forward, should we taper down the bullish buys or hard reset for a possible 300K Bitcoin? Honestly, hold spot. Find the projects that you are 100% bullish on. Find the teams. So I don't buy projects. I buy teams. Like when I'm investing in projects like MERL or you know, Hustle, you know, I'm in them because I believe in the builders behind them, right? I know those builders will never quit. So to me, it doesn't nothing matters in the sense of short term because I'm so long term into these projects. Do you want to give your opinion on it?
Yeah, I think being in spot with, like you said, projects that are building that are getting attention, I feel like it's a matter of time for those type of projects. But like that's where if you don't gamble in the trenches or leverage, you should be okay. Obviously, you still have to make the right decisions in the specific ones. Like if your risk exposure is new projects that have teams that are showing their face consistently, that, you know, put their full names out there and all these things, I think you're doing as good as you can, other than just meeting them in person and shaking their hand and, you know, going for, you just, you know, it's harder to go further into the more research. But so, yeah, I think what you said makes a lot of sense. But, and you know, someone like Stan, that's who I kind of described. I feel like, you know, from what we got to know him from. Obviously, people do like a little bit of risk, but if you're staying away from the meme coin launchpads and leverage, and you're being smart about the teams, you should be fine.
Yeah, 100%. And you could even start a YouTube channel and have the builders of your investment come on, right? Like we have every Monday, one of my biggest bags, Merlin, and we have him on every Monday. And then, you know, with Hustle, you know what I mean? We have those guys on every Friday. So these guys are willing to talk to anybody. If you reach out to Jake and said, hey, I have a brand new YouTube channel, would you mind hopping on? Jake would be like, hell yeah, let's do it. Right. That's just kind of how these guys are. Same thing with Jeff from Merlin. It's like have conversations with them. And we have such an opportunity right now in the markets, so we can reach out to builders. Anybody can, and they'll respond back to you. So that's one thing beautiful about how the markets are right now. Let's finish this real quick. We got Cash Cats here. Shout out to Catch Up with the coffee and the donut and the dog. Go to the moon. Shout out to Cash Cats. Superfan is here. Shout out to Superfan. Hydro Sapien says, GM, we got to bounce hard now. TK dog, I 100% agree. Adopted by Bitcoin says Bitcoin was 101 on MEXC. Yeah, because MEXC was getting their oracle from Binance. So 100%. Adopted by Bitcoin. And then Merlin's lucky finishing all up. And Merlin Chain is here. Shout out to Merlin Chain with the repost. Appreciate every single one of you guys who makes roll call each and every day. But it's time to jump to our next segment here. So every Monday, we were lucky enough to have the great guys over at Merlin Chain join the show. Today, we have the amazing Jeff. Jeff has been building, this Bitcoin layer 2 since, I want to say February of 2024 when they first dropped, right, with their vaults. And then they came live with the token in May. So if you guys don't know, we talked about it already, but Merlin token has been so strong. This token was 6 cents in July. Today it is sitting around 35 cents. They have some of the biggest gains in the last couple of months. They beat every other coin in my opinion. But the biggest thing about the Merlin token is it was so strong during a crash that liquidated so much. And let's bring them up.
Let's do it.
Jeff, welcome back to the show, man. How are you?
Doing great. How's you guys?
Doing good. And everybody is, obviously asking, what makes Merlin stand out. And I was just kind of like, they were one of 5 people, like actual tokens that was able to kind of withstand this huge, red candle that happened last Friday. Let's start off there. I mean, obviously, we don't have to get into deep of price and all that stuff, but like how was Merlin able to kind of, get through that situation?
Yeah, I think last Friday was a very extreme situation that, some risk and, between all these market makers, they have like a big risk window at that moment. So many of them just withdraw all the orders from order book. I don't want to go into details. It happened with all these, USD and Bitcoin, Ethereum stuff. But basically, for like a couple of minutes, all the market makers just withdraw all their orders. So all these altcoins, including memes, like when you're seeing like ordered sets, you think they are memes, right? They don't have a project owner. But I mean, the order book and all the trading volumes are actually maintained by market makers. Not hired by market makers just because market makers have profits doing arbitrage and all that stuff. So that's why they have built up the order book. So basically, for a couple of minutes, all the order book just gone empty for most tokens. So that's why you see already come down to like 60 cents. Sway comes to $0.50. IP got to like $1, which is basically like 90% off. Like minutes before. So and that just creates all this big liquidation. On CoinGlass it says like 19 billion, but actually I think Hyperliquid founder just said something about that today as well to Binance, just because Binance didn't actually report all these liquidations. So the actual liquidation could be over for $40 billion. But yeah, so that's why all these order books are empty and the price just goes down without huge dump. Like people are not actually dumping just because there are no more orders, and it's like very, very small sell pressure will push the price down like 90%. You can see in many other products as well, like for example, like Solve, which is a pretty strong protocol, but their price dropped like 98% for a couple of minutes, and that just liquidates all these long positions, and that's what happened in the market last Friday. On the other hand, I think we just kind of create a stable order book. Our market maker is doing their job. I mean, we have like many market makers. Some people are working with us, some people are not working with us. But yeah, so these market makers just hold a pretty stable order book for us. Appreciate that. And when I wake up like 4 hours later in the morning, I'm just glad our order book is kind of protected by traders and didn't cause much trouble at that time.
So
100%.
I want to get this straight because I think I understand what happened. So basically, the sell orders went in, but then no buy orders went in because at that point they just shut off the buy side.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you go to like change token, right, you see order book, right? There are some sell orders, there are some buy orders. But at that time, every market maker turns on their risk off mode because they are having liquidations on different ends, so they have to cancel all these buy orders. So if there's a token without any buy orders, basically, if you dump like $100, the price can go zero. So there's like literally no buy orders at that time for all altcoins, thousands of altcoins, which is crazy.
Yeah, man, this is like it's TradFi does a thing called bid ask, right? Like you get the bids versus the ask, and if there's no bids, I mean, you can go all the way down. It's basically bots that do this type of stuff, correct?
Yeah, basically, that's the case. There's no bid in the order book.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. So, you guys stood strong. You actually liquidated some shorts. People were seeing, like, looking in the market and seeing what hasn't dropped yet, and Merlin was one of them. And we saw more short liquidations from Merlin than Bullish, and it got some attention from really big people in the space. I mean, Rand Nooner, who's one of the biggest channels, Crypto Banter, they actually mentioned MERL here. You guys were one that gained on the day. This is finally, you guys are finally getting like some really good recognition from some bigger players in the space. That must feel really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a very lucky moment. Actually, among all these tokens, if you go on OKX or Binance, MERL is like the only one of the only 3 tokens that hasn't dropped on that specific day. And also it creates like lots of tension because all people are trying to find the token hasn't dropped at that time, because all these like red candles you see all over the places, like every token is like dropped like 50%, like even more on that day. So yeah, I think it's something that we keep building for. We're trying to protect our traders. That's why we have a pretty deep order book. And also to be honest, I think it's kind of lucky the panic doesn't spread to us at that point. But yeah, I mean, I think we got discovered, and the market is kind of getting better. I'm not too bullish in the next couple of days, but in general, I think people should learn something from that incident, because that never happened before. In the past 10 years, that never happened before in any centralized exchange. But this time, we see this, and I think lots of people are suffering and asking the question there. So I think I hope the industry gets better mechanism next time. Just like like aircraft, there are many big accidents before that makes like today the flying is safer than before.
Yeah, no, great point with that. The space needs to evolve and learn from some of the mistakes and failings and stuff. But you mentioned people have been focusing on you guys. Obviously, this brought some light to you. Has there been people reaching out to say, hey, like we're interested in Merlin, after this event? Like, what do you guys do? Like, we want to be involved with it. Did it bring any of that type of attention?
Yeah, of course. We had like lots of calls in the past few days, lots of meetings in the coming days as well. We're trying to help many builders as well. Many builders suffer from different situations. Some lost money, some just have some issues at this moment. So we're trying our best to help the fellows. And also there are many projects that haven't gone TG yet. They are talking with us, trying to find some suggestions. And also we have some serious investors trying to look into our project and trying to work with us. We just signed one deal today, and we're looking for more partnerships in the future as well. And also when this we are building digital assets treasury with many Nasdaq companies at this moment. And because of our strong performance, I think many of them feel confident to build more partnerships or moving forward with deeper partnership. But yeah, I think definitely bring us some pretty good positive attention. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that too. Like the all the DATs out there, they got to be wondering what the heck's going on, especially the ones who got really in depth in a lot of high risk assets. But some of these DATs now looking at MERL and saying, "Well, these guys, nothing happened with this. They got. Have you been contacted by anyone with that?"
Yeah. Because there are many traders, liquid fund investors. They look at numbers, and also because of the Friday incidents, they look at all these projects. They're trying to find something they want to invest, and because the liquidation happened for like 30-40 billion US dollars. So but definitely there's some people making money and losing money, right? But the losing side, I mean, we can go into details later, like who's losing. But definitely, there are some investors, they are actually like making money because I mean, not even by their own intention, just because many investors, they're doing arbitrage, which means they have the spot and they're they short, they have short position in their hand. But on Friday, many of the short position investors, they actually made a lot of money because like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the ADO mechanism in Binance, in all these central exchange. ADO basically means when the price goes down to an extreme price, the short position will automatically have profits and close the short position. So for example, like if you have short position with Sway on $3.5, right? But when the price goes to $0.50, many short positions just got, because the long position got liquidated. So many short positions, they are kind of forced to liquidate their short positions with automatic profits in their account. But an hour, 2 hours later, the price goes back to $2, and they still have spots in their hand. So they're basically making money because they close their short position at $0.50, and they have spots in their hand worth $2. So yeah, many investors, they make money on Friday, not by their intention. So they're not doing anything bad, but just because of incidents. And now into more projects, to have like an invest opportunity or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think the best part of that is that like you couldn't plan for that. Like whenever it happened on Friday, like Merlin couldn't plan for that. So whenever these companies are looking at them, they're just like, this is like organically, like they were able to get through this. You know what I mean? So it's even more confidence and stuff in a situation like that. But let's get a little bit to kind of what Merlin's focus is. Obviously, big event happened, but let's talk about the underlining focus of Merlin. BTC-Fi has been something that you guys weren't super planning about initially, but early on you realized that it's going to be something in the future, and you stuck to your conviction with it, and it seems to be something that's working for you guys. How do you feel with like the progress of BTC-Fi? Do you feel like that that product is something that is getting more and more interest from institutions and even big retail whales?
Yeah, I think there are many things we can talk about, about the BTC-Fi. First is we just had the season 1 for the BTC staking on Merlin chain, and I think the API is pretty good. It's about like 70%, and all that rewards are in Bitcoin. So if you stake 1 Bitcoin, you will get 7% APR for 3 months, and come back in Bitcoin. And also, yeah, that's the stage 1 for BTC staking. So where does that APR come from? Basically, we did lots of farming DeFi activities in Q3, and luckily many of the projects got listed, so their token are worth a lot in Q3, and it's all before October, so before the market drop on all these altcoins. So we basically have lots of rewards and incentives, and we sold all of them into Bitcoin and get this back for the for the users. And in Q4, I feel confident as well because there are many projects going to TG as well on big exchanges like Binance a bit, and also we find more DeFi farming opportunities, and with low risk. I won't say zero, but like as low as it can be. And also you can see like the Hyperliquid LP HLP pool like made like a lot of money, right? And we're getting many more opportunities like that as well, because they're going to be hundreds of perp decks in the next few weeks. Every huge chain and big team, central exchange, they're all launching their perp decks. I think we talked about that in the past shows, because these volumes will move on chain. Like all these incidents happen on Binance, right? Hyperliquid has like no influence at all, like no bad influence at all. Like if you trade on Hyperliquid, like many of the other users lost like less money than the users trade on Binance. So that incident actually proved perpdex can be stronger than central exchange. And that's why Binance is supporting Aster. That's why OKX and Sui, Aptos, Solana, they are all supporting their own perpdex. And if MBTC can be the HLP or whatever XLP, SLP, MLP, if MBTC can be LP for all these perpdex, the incentives will be very high as well. But I mean, there are many auditing, there are many research that we need to do to make sure the risk is low. But yeah, I think on-chain activity will be huge, and Bitcoin, which is the biggest asset in crypto, will be playing very important role for all these on-chain LP as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great strategy, especially whenever, because that's why you guys you stake your Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. So you're finding all of these TGE opportunities to earn and immediately kind of converting that into Bitcoin, because that's what Bitcoiners want, or the people that are staking. So I love that. And I'm excited to see, where this grows. And MBTC has already made it, it's a name for itself. And I think that's going to grow. And I think Shizzy agrees with me on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the biggest complaints of like Bitcoin maxis will say, well, if you don't know where the yield's coming from, you are the yield. But in this situation, you guys are getting the yield from places like Hemi, places like Falcon Finance, right? You guys are doing your due diligence to make sure these are safe plays. And now with a whole bunch of new perp decks that are dropping with these, and they're backed by the actual chain itself, they're pretty safe. And but you guys do your due diligence to make sure of that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing as like nothing is like safe like 100%, but we do lots of things to make sure that first, all these protocols we're using are legit. Second, if bad things happen, the risk can be minimized. So like it won't affect all your funds in the vault. So probably sometimes it has that like setback for like a few percent off, but in general you're making money. And that's not like this is not a fairy tale. This is what happened in DeFi and CeFi all the time, right? Like what are these traders doing? Like liquid fund investors, investment banking, like all these financial institutions are doing that on every day. What matters is like how much risk you can you can stay in control. But that's what happened in many protocols that they failed, and also in many good protocols that they succeeded. Like like without risk, like the RV won't even like exist anymore, because lending is all about risk control. So yeah, like I don't want to go into like to every detail that we use, but I think pushing BTC-Fi into a broader like adoption is what we always plan to do. And also like one thing I want to address is since we are working with all these Nasdaq companies, and MBTC basically passed all these legal and auditing materials for SEC. So I think that's a huge recognition as well, because we're not only pushing on Solana, Sui, Ethereum, BNB chain, but also pushing that to traditional financial market like Nasdaq. And I think this could be very important for us to push this bigger in the future, because with more parties can be involved, with more institutions can be involved, BTC-Fi will be bigger and bigger. And like I said before, like one day, MicroStrategy will definitely be doing BTC-Fi, no matter on Merlin or other chains. I don't really care, but they will be doing that, and that will be a good news for all these BTC ecosystem projects as well.
100%, man. It's going to be a good day when MicroStrategy comes on chain and starts using his Bitcoin. But you guys have phase 2. It says staking is live. It says here, January 8th, 2026. Could you I'm getting this a little bit, like the starting and ending and everything?
Yeah, so basically that's for Q4, another 3-month period. The reason we're doing 3 months is very simple, because many DeFi projects, they need to put that liquidity on other chains with partnerships and stuff. So that fund cannot be moved on daily basis, and that's stated on day 1. But since the season 1 is doing pretty well, season 2, like I said, we open more chains and protocols. So we believe the incentives will be more hybrid. And also, since we're working with all these Nasdaq companies and we're doing the tokenizing stock, at this point, some big news will be coming up as well. So the incentives will not only be Bitcoin, but also with some stock like coming to users, but not actual stock like in your bank account, but more like the tokenized stock in your MetaMask, in your wallet. So the incentives will be more hybrid, will be a Bitcoin, but also potentially be more stock involved as well. And I think the season 2 APR will be good as well. But we cannot we can't be sure about that like at this moment. But definitely something around what we did with season 1, 70%. And yeah, we just opened that last night, and right now we have about 75 Bitcoin. I'm hearing some users will do some staking in the next 12 to 24 hours. Some people told me. So I'm pretty confident it will reach like 100 in no time. So right now we are thinking about opening another higher cap for that. If that cap is opened, we'll be announcing that on our official Twitter as well. So just pay attention to our official Twitter and see what's going on with season 2. But yeah, I think the incentives will be very interesting this time. Not only Bitcoin, but also some stock.
Yeah, I mean, big news. Obviously, people really love the first staking vault that went through. You immediately get 75 Bitcoin staked right away. I agree. I think that's going to cap out pretty soon. Is there anything else that Merlin? That's a lot, by the way, that you guys are focused on because there's big money moving around with that. But is there anything else that Merlin has as kind of a priority focus right now, other than the BTC-Fi?
Yeah, I think right now our focus is on BTC-Fi and also the DAT part, because that's like the things we can do and achieve, not instant, like pretty quick feedbacks from the market. And I think for crypto users, for our communities, that's something very important for them. I mean, we still have a fairly big team building AI at this moment. The new version will be delivered, but like I get it. Like for 1 year, 1 year and a half launching our token, I get the community wants some feedbacks on the price, wants some feedbacks on the financial side. So yeah, I think BTC-Fi and DAT is like the main focus for me at this moment, and we'll keep bringing good news on those topics. But also we're trying to do something cool. But probably the feedbacks won't come in a short period of time, probably for longer time period.
Yeah, man. And one thing you said to me before, I don't know if it was on a show or one of our pre-show meetings, but you said if somebody would have left Bitcoin MBTC in their staking vault from all the way back from April of 2024, they'd be sitting on a few Bitcoin right now, right? Just one Bitcoin turned into multiplied. That's pretty nuts. That's incredible.
Yeah, and also at that time Bitcoin was like 40, 50K. So like in stables, you basically like 4 times, 3 times higher. Yeah.
I got one last question for you because I know you're a busy man, Jeff, but I feel like one of the things that you did really well, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but you got out ahead of like the paperwork and registering with the right entities in the US and all these type of things. And I'm not sure if you see that from a lot of like the projects that start in the East. But you obviously had some experience in the US and stuff. So do you feel like that was kind of one of the things that gets you some more attention from like Western like investors and institutions, is you getting ahead of it? Like you guys are in Kraken now, probably because you did get ahead of it and you have opportunities to be in other US institutions as well. Is that what got you a little bit more focused on you guys in the East?
I think it's more about mindset. Like our team is most of our team members are Asians, like Singaporeans and Chinese, and I see lots of the teams as well in Singapore. They have similar team, but I think it's more about mindset, because sometimes you just open your mind and you will see like different picture, because some teams they just focus on their own area. Like if we when we're doing MERL at first time, we're doing about ordinals and inscriptions. But then very soon we find out BTC-Fi can be a big thing. But just imagine if we stick with ordinals inscriptions, we're probably fucked at this moment. I mean, no offense, but we are building an ecosystem. That ecosystem means you have to bring stuff that people actually, like many people are getting FOMO or cared, right? At each moment. So that's why we keep changing like directions. We did memes, we did on-chain DeFi, we did BTC-Fi cross chains. So but at the same time, there are some other teams who just like stay focused on their own angle, never think about looking at it like a bigger picture. And that's why people just feel like those teams are fading away, because if you keep telling the same story over and over, you can trick yourself, but you cannot trick all people. I'm not saying like dedication on one thing is bad. I'm not saying that, but looking at all companies like Google, Apple, Amazon, you have to sometimes look at like a big picture. Like think about if Apple didn't do MP3 and iPhone, at that time, if they just focus on a computer, if they don't have iTunes, Apple Store, I don't think they can be that successful. So what I'm saying is, just not focus on like where you're from, east or west. I don't think that matters, or where you're building, but more about what is the market trend is, what people want, and trying to like not lose your focus, not lose your intention, but also trying to do something like out of your comfort zone. Like I think I say too much. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying. I think
we got it.
Yeah,
was
because
good.
I think like it's like if you're a builder, it's actually easy to just stick with one thing and keep telling yourself, okay, this is gonna be huge, this is gonna be huge. But the harder part is not only focus on your thing, but also be open mind and listen to others. I think that's actually hard to do.
Yeah, man, 100%. And being able to understand the markets and really get a hold of it very early, like you guys did. I mean, you guys pivoted to Bitcoin DeFi very early after you guys launched. I mean, it was one of the biggest things that you guys did. And I mean, looking back, it was probably the most successful thing you guys could have done. Bitcoin DeFi is going to be something that's here way after we're all gone, right? Bitcoin DeFi is going to be something that everyone's going to be doing in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 100%, depending on where you're at, right? If you're in TradFi, it's going to take you longer than if you're actually in crypto and you understand the rails. But Jeff, man, it's been absolutely amazing, dude. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'd love to give you stage one last time. If there's anything left you want to get out there.
Yeah, it's okay. I think the market is kind of getting better, but I think what we learned from this instance is like we don't want to put too much leverage on our assets. We see some bad news happen all around the world. We have some friends lost all their funds and stuff. I think that's what crypto teaches people every time when that happens. Just don't put too much leverage on your assets, and keep learning, keep building. And thank you guys for having me here.
Yep, appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night, Jeff. It's crazy, man. It's 12 p.m. for him to come on and do the show, man. It's absolutely awesome. Every single Monday, you guys can catch Jeff live every single Monday. I mean, we had him on when Merlin was 6 cents, and to have him on today when Merlin is 36 cents, Ed was absolutely the biggest probably gainer on Friday. I mean, that and Zcash, right? So it's really awesome, and you can tell by his mood right now. So he's very excited for the future of Merlin.
Yeah, and you were talking about the pivot early on to BTC-Fi when BTC-Fi wasn't sexy at all, really. You did have Babylon kind of raise a certain amount of Bitcoin, which was a good number, but like whenever the smaller at that time entities would try to do stuff, it was like a slow moving thing. So you really had to stick with your conviction with it, and he did. But the biggest thing is, man, like the self-growth as like a founder of a blockchain that we see with him is crazy. And I'm not saying that he was stubborn before or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But like the big number one tip that he consistently gives now to other builders and people in general is open your mind and be open enough to listen to other people and learn from people that you would least expect to learn from them. Right. So I think that's a good lesson in general. Right. So.
Yeah, 100%. And like, we were building something, and we came into some issues, right? And we went to him and we said, yo, like, we're struggling, right? And he was basically like, guys, like, I struggled building, the entire time. It's not easy, right? And it's just one of those things where it's like you can see like, something I say a lot, you know what I mean? You want to be looking up to the people who've been building for a long time and felt the downs, right? Especially, I'm sure July he was feeling down and the ups, right? And then kind of learning from them and kind of really taking their words as wisdom, You know what I mean? And that's something that, you know, Jeff has always done, especially for pretty much anyone. If anyone, he's been in spaces all the time. Like he really gives a lot of words of wisdom a lot of the time. So that's really cool.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, I got some other stuff here. So we talked about the downfall of crypto from Friday, but we didn't talk about the uptrend yesterday. So yesterday morning, JD Vance came out and he basically said Trump is willing to be reasonable negotiator with China on tariffs. And immediately China came out and said, you know, we declined U.S. call after export controls announcement. So we're not even like listening to JD at this point. But crypto didn't care. Crypto rallied yesterday. I mean, we saw, you know, 25-cent Farcoin on Saturday to 49-cent Farcoin on Sunday, right? You had guys like Clemente coming out and saying, like, how dare you say Farcoin looks good here? And then a day later, it comes out and says, you know what? That guy was right. That guy was right. He was right to buy the dip. So whoever bought the dip on Saturday was very happy on Sunday. And even today, even. But what's your take from the big uptrend from yesterday? What do you get out of that? Is there a reason to be bullish?
Well, I think it was a bunch of retail whales, maybe you know, just buying stuff that was cheap and realizing that, you know, these prices are on discount. I think some of that happened right afterwards as well. But you know, if you look at yesterday and the energy we kind of saw for the second half of yesterday, you would have maybe said like, did Friday just happen Friday, like 2 days ago? You know, and it's almost kind of like, and that's our space, man. That's so crazy because like one day we'll come in and it's a slow day and Bitcoin's taking a hit. Maybe it's down like 4,000 or 5,000, and it seems like everything is over. And then the next day, Bitcoin runs up, you know, 8,000, and then everybody in the space is, you know, jumping for joy, clapping, all this stuff. So it's just the nature of our space. I always say that we need to just kind of, you know, handle those situations like with less emotion, but that's not gonna change for a while because that's just the nature of the space right now, you know. So but the uptrend itself, I'm sticking with a nice Q4 kind of gift to end the year. You know what I mean? Whether that's we get, you know, some of that, we still have 17 days, I think, in this month, maybe 18. And then we have all of November and all of December. And the way I just explained how crypto works, that's like years in time. You know what I mean? So like this sentiment could be flipped on its head completely. It could be, you know, we're at like a 95 in extreme greed by like November, second week in November, right? So I know, like I said, it's not going to change, but we can remind ourselves that like, look, we still have this much time left to end the year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. So do you feel the same way you felt last Thursday before all this happened about the Q4?
Yeah, I do. And I know that sounds crazy. And it's convenient for me to say that after we've kind of bounced back, but we haven't fully bounced back yet. You know, I do feel like we do get that, you know, really, I guess like high type of energy coming back in Q4. Obviously not starting the way that I expected. It actually is very confusing the way it started. Started decent and then pulled back. But again, you know, 2.5 months left is like, it feels like a year's time almost, like in regular world, right? So we have so much time to really, I can just picture us in an extremely emotionally high part of this Q4, and maybe even one more extremely low. Who knows? You know, that's our space is like that. But I do have a very high level of confidence that we have at least one more extremely high, like uptrend level of energy to finish the year.
Yeah, 100%. And that kind of goes right with Quentin said. So Quentin put out this chart here. He said you wished you bought during the COVID crash of 2020. So this was the COVID crash, right? So the 60% drop from, you know, from the start of it to the end of it, and then up only from there. Do you see potentially that Friday was this cycle's COVID crash?
I mean, I feel like we can't really crash that hard again. You know what I mean? if we crash that hard again, then Bitcoin's going to go to probably like 80,000 or something,
Yeah.
89,000. It's just you don't see that would be historically like a crazy, you know, anomaly of events to happen like that close together that large, right? So does that mean that there won't be a little bit of downtrend or something? Yeah, that could happen, but I think we've basically been punched in the mouth as hard as we can get, in my opinion, unless like the entire market collapses and falls underneath itself. That's a different story. Then you're talking about like apocalyptic type stuff, right? But I mean, I can't see it. I can't see anything like we
Yeah.
just went through happen again before the end of the year.
Yeah, 100%. And the great poet Rocky Balboa once said, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And I think that's the definition of crypto, honestly. So.
I mean, it has to be, right?
100%. A couple of things here. So Hyperliquid, absolutely insane. So they're putting this thing in. So Hyperliquid will activate HIP-3 network. It actually got activated this morning, enabling qualified developers to create permissionless perpetual contract markets. So what does that mean? I actually jumped into a little bit, went with ChatGPT and got a huge definition of what exactly this means. So basically, I just read this. So builders can now launch their own perp DEX on Hypercore by staking 500,000 hype, marking the huge step forward for full decentralization. So here's why builders want to launch their own perp DEX on Hyperliquid. List anything. So you can list anything, any coin that you want, niche tokens, meme tokens, RWA. So Hyperliquid doesn't want to do it themselves, but they said, hey, if you want to go do it, here, you can. You can earn fees instead of paying exchanges. So you can actually earn fees going through the Hyperliquid, assets. Control your own liquidity and leverage. Build custom AMMs and liquidation logic. Launch your own branded DEX. And here's when you launch your own perp DEX under HIP-3, it still runs on Hyperliquid's core liquidity. You're not splitting liquidity, you're expanding it. Same engine, same depth, same security, just your own markets, fees, and branding. This is absolutely huge, right? Do you think now people are going to start using this Hyperliquid and staking 500,000 Hyperliquid tokens, which is like, I don't know, $5 million. It's something crazy like that, or $50 million or something. But by doing that, you now have access to all the liquidity Hyperliquid brings and the security Hyperliquid brings. Game changer, correct?
It is game changing, but I think that's a little too much of a requirement. I mean, $48 times 500,000 is that is the minimum requirement to do this?
That is, you have to stake, but you're not paying it, right? You're just staking it on their validator.
Yeah, but that's $24 million. Because they're
I mean, this isn't for people like me and you. This is for
Yagobi's perp DEX. No,
you know what I mean? But think about it though for a second. Someone like Uniswap now, who potentially they want to build a perp DEX, but they don't want to add the liquidity. They could potentially do something like this. We're talking like Aave, for instance. They could do something like this as well to expand. This is for the bigger players in the space, and maybe even TradFi to come in the game. Maybe some TradFi. Hey, we want to do this, but we want to do this for stocks like Robinhood, for instance. Robinhood could do this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, we're going to see if this works or not pretty quickly, I think, because then you're going to see some pretty big names partnering with them. Did MetaMask and Phantom go this route, or were they just pure aggregation of it? I wonder what that, because they obviously don't have like the full-on website for the DEX and stuff, so probably not. But yeah, we're going to see who has enough liquidity to do this. Maybe there's new companies that form out of this, but it's obviously there's the incentive of not, having to worry too much about like liquidity provisions, right? Because they provide that, which is insane.
And like before today, MetaMask and Phantom were probably asking for this. Like, hey, we want to make our own, right? I mean, MetaMask, they're already using Hyperliquid. Now they can just potentially, you're not paying anybody. You're just taking Hyperliquid tokens and you're staking them. Potentially, if you believe in the token, you're going to make money regardless, right? On that investment of having that stake, but you can't unstake it because you'll lose control of the security and the LP, right? So it's one of those things where I think this is absolutely genius. And the fact that like now potentially we're going to see like really, really small meme coins get perps very early because they're using the liquidity from the Hyperliquid.
Well, I wonder what that like process looks like though, because Hyperliquid might only have like a whitelist that they can utilize of tokens, so the risk management is you know.
You'll have to add that own LP though. Let's say Pump Fund want their own liquidity, and they said, hey, we're gonna do this with Pump Fund, but we're gonna add our own liquidity for Fartcoin or for all these other coins that are high risk. So you'll just add you'll basically create an LP on Hyperliquid, and it'll be yours. So if it gets destroyed,
they won't
on you.
provide that. Okay, gotcha.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
but I mean, like big Western brands could benefit from this because not many people are going to know about the inner workings, right? Like a lot of people didn't.
Exactly.
You had to get it deeply into like the GameStop thing to realize that Citadel was, also a brokerage or what was it called? Mutual. I forgot what they were. They were doing two things that was like a conflict of interest, right? So my point is like they could brand this and just brand themselves and so there's definitely companies that could take advantage of it. You just have to have that $24 million right now to put up. And by the way, can you earn off of that too? Because you're staking it.
Yeah, it's very small. It's like 2%, but you're earning 2% yield.
Yeah. So there you go.
100%. All right. So next thing is Bitcoin Core V30 is live. The update introduces the encrypted node connections and raises the op return data from 80 to 100,000 bytes. A drastic change that's dividing the Bitcoin community. So we're seeing guys like, guys we haven't heard from in over eight years. Nick Szabo come out and he's giving his opinion on it. Adam Back, it seems like he's giving his opinion every day. I think I would love. It sucks that Hal Finney's not. He's gone, right? Because I feel like he would take the side of some of the the ordinals guys, because he was someone who was very open-minded, and Adam Back and Nick Szabo don't seem open-minded. The three people I think is Satoshi is Adam Back, Nick Szabo, and Hal Finney. And I just feel like it sucks that Hal Finney's not here, because I feel like he would be on our side on this a little bit. What do you think?
Well, I do think that Adam Beck is confusing a little bit with his statements, because there's weird times where he'll post and be like, you can't stop spam altogether, so like let's focus on other stuff that's more important. But then I would say about 2 months ago he came out strongly against it, and so I don't know if there's like economic reasons why that's pulling him back and forth, or he's just changing his opinion because new people are coming into the thing having their opinions. But we're going to find out very quickly to see how many miners kind of say, okay, well, we're going to upgrade because, if we don't, then we're going to have to deal with these glitches and these issues that the old, the version 29 is going to give us, or we're going to switch to knots. And I don't think they're going to switch to knots, because they want, to optimize, miners need to optimize as much as they can, because they've already lost, in terms of energy versus profit, right? And these are going to be like large miners. So I don't think they would have put this out if they felt like a large percentage of miners wouldn't support it.
Well, that's the thing too, is like when you take it from 80 bytes to 100,000 bytes, who makes out? Well, now I'm able to pay, a lot of money to get something huge put on the chain. Who makes out on that? The miners, right? The miners are going to get potentially, we saw it in October and November of 2023, where miners were getting more Bitcoin for the fees than they were actually getting for the block reward. And back then, the block reward was double what it is today. Right. So you're getting like 12 Bitcoin for winning every block, and they want that again. They definitely want that again. So for them, it's like, and that's only about miners. Miners are here for money. Miners, they're a business.
Straight
they have
business
mindset. They don't give a shit about Bitcoin or spam, right? They want to make money.
Yep. And that's why I think that they put this out, because if they thought that the miners wouldn't adapt to this, they wouldn't put it out.
100%. All right. Tom Lee's Bitmine Immersion just bought 200,000 ETH worth $834 million, just below $1 billion. Tom Lee was not afraid on Saturday. He had his buying shoes on a Saturday and went into the market and bought 200,000 Ethereum from Coinbase Prime. Obviously this doesn't affect the price because it is OTC, but still, this is something. Tom Lee is all in on Ethereum right now.
He is. And I don't know if it's him not wanting to be wrong about it. No, I don't think that's it. Look, he thinks that Ethereum is going to get to a certain level by the end of Q4. He has a really large number. I can't remember exactly, but I know it's big. But then you start to see a little bit of these guys that are conservative, like the Benjamin Cohens coming out and saying 5,300 is the lowest that I have for ETH. So when Benjamin Cohen talks, especially this cycle, I'm listening. Man, the guy's like 10 for 10, right? So I wouldn't be shocked if Tom Lee's right, and you know he's on super purchase mode for Ethereum.
Yeah, 100%. And to your point, Benjamin Cohen said, I think it's now rally to all-time highs. Like he thinks that everything's going to rally to all-time highs now, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. Benjamin Cohen is somebody who's been Jordan Game 6 this entire cycle. I mean, he just is not missing any shots he takes, right? The only shot that he's taken, it looked like it wasn't going to go in, but then eventually bounced all the way up and then went in, right? And that was when he said, Bitcoin dominance was going to go higher, right? And it did eventually. Right,
in a weird
big
way,
drop,
though.
and then but it did go higher than he previously thought. And he's like, he will eventually be wrong. And because he was wrong last cycle, because he was right all the way up until ETH went absolutely nuts and he just was caught off guard. But maybe he's thinking differently now, because he is saying, his target for ETH is between 5,000 and 8,000 for the cycle high, and he's thinking the cycle high is going to be this year.
Yeah, and the thing is that like I don't know if he's like worried because that was the only thing that he got wrong before, and so he's like overcompensating for it. But I don't think he is, because like honestly, he seems like a guy that's going to stand on what he truly thinks. And he did truly think that the alt season wasn't going to kick in so aggressively last year, last cycle. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, when he was wrong for that one time or whatever. But anyways, look, so you got Cohen and you got Tom Lee, two of the guys that like I really listen to whenever they talk, and they're both calling for high numbers for ETH to finish the year. And that's another thing that makes me feel like when you asked me earlier, are you still in the same mindset for Q4? Yeah, because of people like that too. It's not. Yeah, I don't have no crystal ball, but I have my experience from previous cycles. I have the people that I listen to whenever they talk, and that puts me into a position that says I think we're going to have a high level of energy in terms of price trend up to finish the year at some point.
Yeah, man, 100%. And on that note, we'll call it a show. We got 786 people watching live right now on X, YouTube, and Twitch. 600 people on X. We appreciate every single one of you guys, man, each and every day. We do the show for you guys, but not to mention everyone on Kick, Rumble, Abstract, and Spotify later. We appreciate you guys, man. Absolutely amazing show today. Let's go. I forgot these things exist.
Yes, sir. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without y'all, we could not do this, and we'd like to let you guys know every day, because we are very appreciative for your support. But also, without our partners, we couldn't do it. So if you could check them out, we would greatly appreciate it. Sats Terminal is the DEX aggregator swap for the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to swap for Bitcoin runes, alkanes, and now Sparks tokens, you can do so at satsterminal.com. And when you connect your wallet for the first time, you'll get a bonus of Amber points, and then you'll earn Amber points off of every swap that you take. And Amber points are going to be huge, in my opinion, because they are going to be a point system. They are a point system that go towards a give back for early adopters. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. Also, they have a awesome borrowing and lending product that you can borrow against your Bitcoin with. If you go to satsterminal.com, click on that second product link there, you will see that they are partnered with the largest, lending and borrowing platforms in the space, Aave, Morphos, those type. And so they've been working on this product for a while. Solid team. Check it out there. You can earn against your Bitcoin, so you don't have to sell your Bitcoin and then use those stables to buy more Bitcoin, maybe, or just to get into some of these other assets that are coming around here. So head over to satsterminal.com to learn all about the swap and their borrowing and lending product today. And then Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer for the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to jump your Bitcoin ordinals or Bitcoin NFTs like counterparty NFTs over to Ethereum, you could do so using Emblem Vault. You can take a loan out against your Taproot Wizard right now on the Gandhi application on Ethereum. And I'm sure they're going to open up to other ordinals and possibly some of these counterparty NFTs as well. But the Emblem team is going to be opening up to other EVM chains as well. And Solana is definitely on their roadmap for Emblem Vault as well. But speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in the entire Solana ecosystem called AgentHustle.ai. And Agent Hustle is an AI agent to guide you through the Solana ecosystem. Hustle can help you find some solid, 2 to 5x plays and bring back them, and what's reasons why he thinks that these are solid, right? So look at him as like an assistant that can guide you through one of the toughest environments in all of crypto, and that is Solana, right? But also he has a conditional trading engine built in him, so you can set trades, buy and sell limit orders. You can say, hey, buy fart coin whenever it pulls back 50% and sell it whenever I'm up 100%. He'll take care of that for you as you are doing whatever you need to do in your life. He makes your life more convenient. There are different levels of subscription. There's a free level that you are limited to their tool sets with, but you can ask simple questions. Then there's the higher levels of subscription there, and you get a discount if you use the Hustle token, which is the single token that powers the entire Emblem and Agent Hustle ecosystem. So check out the subscriptions there and see which one fits you, right? You can try out the free version if just to test it out for yourself before you decide to go that far into it. There's also a product in the ecosystem called migrate.fun that allows you to migrate a token. So if you're a token deployer or a project founder and you launched a token on Pump Fun or a launchpad in the Solana ecosystem and you want to migrate to another launchpad, or you want to manage your own LPs, then you got to use migrate.fun. They already finished their first cohort. I believe there were about 13 teams and they went very smooth. Reach out to them at migrate.fun to learn more, but they walk you through the process and they guide you and prep you for it all. Super successful the first cohort, so check and see if you can get in that next cohort or maybe a future cohort. But go to emblem.vision to learn about all the products I just broke down for their team over there. And then Artura.finance is the perps and leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. This team has been building on Botanic's Bitcoin layer 2 for a while now, and they're going to have some announcements for some future deployments as well. There is a trading competition that is still going on at Artura.finance where you can win 5,000 USDC. The first place wins 5,000, and then another 5,000 split amongst the next couple winners there. Also, you can add liquidity to their vault and earn, by adding liquidity, you earn a certain percentage there. They also have their ARA token, which is the main token that powers their ecosystem, which you can find on Aerodrome as they launch that on the base chain there. But make sure you tune in tomorrow to the Trader's Edge at 2 p.m. Eastern as we help co-host their show. And head over to Artura.finance to learn more today. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength through the power of AI. They have their Wizard version 2.0 that guides you through the Merlin Chain ecosystem. The Wizard can actually help you swap cross-chain as well. You can swap for Solana tokens and BNB tokens. All you got to do is have some Merlin Bitcoin in your wallet. But Merlin also has a proof of stake security model for their chain, and you can participate in 3 ways. The most popular way right now is the Bitcoin, staking Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin, which on average, they got their stakers 17% APR, which is amazing for staking Bitcoin. If you want to know how they get that, rewind to the Merlin Monday that we had Jeff on. He breaks it down for you guys, so it's really awesome. But they're going to put, this goes until I believe I want to say January 2026 around there. So it's a 3-month staking period there. But look, it's already 75 Bitcoin in this vault. Tons of people are interested in this. Institutions, everybody loves this product. But there's 2 other products too that have to do with the Merlin Chain token itself. You can stake Merlin Chain token in a day-to-day staking vault, which is a 15% APR. You can pull it out anytime you want. It does have a 7-day cooldown period though, so just know that you will get your Merlin Chain tokens 7 days after you initiate it, if you do withdraw. But you can claim your rewards daily and compound interest those rewards. So really cool mechanism there for that. And then there's a 6-month lockup period, which is called the bonded staking vault, and you earn 45% APR. Same thing, you can claim those rewards daily. You can roll them into a compound interest strategy there, but they are locked up for 6 months. And everybody's focused on the BTC5 because that is what they are thriving at right now. But this team has been through all the ups and downs, and I'm so happy for them to be, basically benefiting from all the hard work right now. And so head over to merlinchain.io to learn more there. And thank you guys so much for checking out our partners and hanging out with us for about 2 hours.
Yeah, man, 100%. And like one thing about Merlin people don't really understand is like it was 6 cents in July, right? Like it was tough for them to like to just keep going, but they did, and they're stronger than ever. So you just never want to give up. Never want to give up. But if you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind, check now onchainrevolution.io. We have some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. We really feel like it can help them get started and caught up to where we are today. BNB goes vertical. Last week's big article right here, guys. Check that out. If you missed last week for whatever reason, definitely want to check this article out. We have Astra versus Hyperliquid and so much more, guys. You want to check out everything here on chainrevolution.io. If you guys need VPN, I highly recommend Nord. You can protect up to 10 devices. You get 77% off. Lock it in for 2 years. You get an extra 3 months, and you're paying $3 a month. Think about that for a second. You're paying $3 a month. Lock it in. You pay $66 for $67 for 2 years, but you actually get 3 months on top of that. It's actually stupid not to. This will allow you to use stuff like Hyperliquid. This will allow you to use stuff like MEXC. I use MEXC every single day. Is my main bridge when I go from Bitcoin to Ethereum or Ethereum the base or whatever. I use MEXC because it's honestly the cheapest place to you send in. It's free, and then you send out. It's like 3 to 4 cents. It's actually insane that they're so cheap to do that. So that's my main bridge. I use that and Stargate. I always kind of see what the differences from where I'm going. So definitely want to check out these other sites, but you can do that by using a VPN. Do not let them geo-block you. It's not your country that is geo-blocking you. It is the website, and they do that for reasons of security for themselves. But you guys can go around that with a VPN. So definitely want to check that out. And like I said, $66 for that. And if you guys need merch, we have some of the best merch in all of crypto: hats, shirts, jackets, and much more. Everything here at onchainrevolution.io. And guys, remember, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain revolution roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go, Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How do the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction.